The night outside had been eerily quiet, the occasional rustle of leaves the only sound breaking the stillness. Inside, the atmosphere in Vanessa's apartment felt thick with tension, as though an unseen force lingered. Exhausted from the day's events, she had finally succumbed to sleep, slipping into a restless slumber. Her mind, however, had taken her to a desolate landscape where the boundaries between dream and reality blurred. In this barren wasteland, the ground was cracked and lifeless, the sky churning with black clouds radiating a dim, ominous glow. Vanessa had stood alone, her dread mounting as a dark figure emerged at the edge of her vision. Paralyzed with fear, she had watched it glide closer, revealing a tall, ethereal man with pale, glowing skin and void-like eyes. His cruel smile chilled her as he spoke her name. "I am Bree," he had introduced himself, his voice smooth and menacing. "You are destined to become my greatest creation." Despite her attempts to resist, Bree's overwhelming presence had pressed down on her, his touch sending cold electricity through her. As the darkness he wielded consumed her, Vanessa had fought desperately, her mind clinging to thoughts of Ira. But Bree's laughter echoed ominously as he declared her fate. She would become his instrument, destined to destroy Ira. Vanessa had seen it in a moment of horrifying clarity, the act of her betrayal. In her vision, she had plunged the blade of darkness into Ira's heart, witnessing the anguish in his eyes, the pain, betrayal, and sorrow as he realized what she had become. A scream of despair had torn from her throat, shattering the stillness of the dream, but it was too late. The darkness gripped her tightly, dragging her into an abyss from which there was no escape. "Please, Ira, help me," she had whispered, her voice fragile and desperate. But there was only the suffocating silence of the darkness. Vanessa woke with a gasp, drenched in cold sweat, her chest tight with guilt and fear. She could still feel the lingering touch of Bree's malevolent influence, poisoning her thoughts. Paralyzed with terror, she remained motionless until Ira appeared in the doorway, his voice filled with concern. She had flung herself into his arms, sobbing, recounting the nightmare. "Bree turned me into something horrible," she had confessed. When she revealed she had killed him in the dream, Ira comforted her, vowing, "You are stronger than any darkness." Despite his reassurance, Vanessa couldn't shake the dread that the dream was more than a nightmare. It felt like a warning. Together, they resolved to face whatever darkness lay ahead, drawing strength from one another. But the shadow of her fear loomed, unshakable. "I'm scared, Ira," she had whispered, her voice trembling. Vanessa clung to Ira after her nightmare, confessing her fears of becoming something monstrous under Bree's influence. Ira, though shaken, promised her, "We'll get through this, Vanessa. I promise you." Their embrace provided a fleeting sense of safety, but the shadow of the dream lingered in Vanessa's mind. Even as she resolved to fight Bree's darkness, doubts crept in. Would her strength and their love be enough to withstand what was coming? Elsewhere, the world teetered on the edge of chaos. In a morning television broadcast, Emma Johnson, a beloved host, began to exhibit eerie transformations. Her warm demeanor was replaced by a chilling presence, her bloodshot eyes and guttural voice unsettling both her co-host and viewers. When Emma grabbed Richard's arm with unnatural strength and began speaking in an incomprehensible, alien language, panic ensued. Studio efforts to cut the feed failed, leaving audiences across the nation in horrified silence. At Madison Square Garden, a boxing match drew crowds eager for entertainment, but an ominous undercurrent hung in the air. As fighters Liam the Beast Johnson and Noah the Hammer Smith prepared to face off, the gathering felt the palpable tension of an approaching storm, as if reality itself was unraveling. In a chilling turn of events, chaos unfolded during a boxing match and a tennis game, as individuals succumbed to a sinister influence. At Madison Square Garden, Liam the Beast Johnson, known for his precise and controlled boxing, began behaving erratically after the bell rang. His sluggish movements and bloodshot eyes, filled with a malevolent glow, alarmed both the audience and his opponent, Noah the Hammer Smith. When Noah asked, "Liam, what's going on?" Liam responded only with guttural growls and an unholy focus. Despite Noah's efforts to defend himself, Liam unleashed a relentless assault, speaking a garbled, alien language similar to one heard in a prior incident involving a TV host. Noah managed to land a powerful punch, but Liam barely flinched, taunting, "Is that all you've got?" The fight devolved into a brutal onslaught, with officials paralyzed by fear. Only when Noah lay limp did Liam pause, momentarily regaining clarity and confronting the horror of his actions. Meanwhile, at the US Open, a tennis match between Amelia Hawthorne and Isabella Marlowe took a dark turn. Isabella exhibited erratic movements and bloodshot eyes, muttering guttural, otherworldly phrases. Amelia's concern, "Are you okay?" was met with silence, as darkness enveloped yet another victim in its sinister grip. At the US Open, Isabella Marlowe's tennis match turned into a nightmare when she suddenly screamed, clutching her head in agony. Amelia Hawthorne rushed to help, shouting, "Get help," but Isabella collapsed, convulsing violently. The crowd gasped in horror as medics tried to restrain her, while her screams echoed through the stadium. When the convulsions stopped, Isabella lay still, her body lifeless. As medics lifted her onto a stretcher, Amelia saw her opponent's face twisted in terror, her once vibrant eyes now vacant. The crowd sat in stunned silence, the weight of the dark event pressing down on them. Meanwhile, at Carrier Dome, during a basketball game between the Knicks and Lakers, James Parker exhibited strange, erratic behavior. His bloodshot eyes darted around the court, and his once graceful movements became jerky. Soon, other players also displayed the same signs, struggling with their coordination and turning on teammates. The game devolved into chaos when James charged at a teammate, tackling and attacking him with brutal force. The coach screamed, but the players were consumed by a dark influence, turning the court into a battlefield. The madness ended only when a player collapsed, allowing referees to intervene, but the damage was done. The game was called off, and the arena fell into eerie silence as spectators, their faces pale with shock, filed out without speaking, unable to process what had just occurred. A press conference followed the chaotic events, where Dr. Stephen Harlow, a leading neurologist, grimly addressed the media. "What we are witnessing is unprecedented. These incidents are not isolated, they're happening across multiple sports and locations. The symptoms are consistent: bloodshot eyes, erratic behavior, and a complete loss of control." A reporter asked Dr. Harlow, "Could this be an infection or disease?" Dr. Harlow shook his head. "The onset of symptoms is too rapid, and the behaviors go beyond any known medical condition." Another reporter suggested mass hysteria, but Dr. Harlow disagreed. "This is not mass hysteria. These individuals are exhibiting signs of possession. There's no other word for it." The room fell silent as Dr. Harlow's words settled in. "Are you suggesting these athletes are possessed?" a journalist asked. "I don't have all the answers, but whatever this is, it is not of this world." In the following days, the dark influence spread globally. Celebrities and ordinary people alike displayed the same terrifying symptoms. Governments struggled to respond, unable to fight an unseen, incomprehensible force. The world was descending into chaos.